Frasers Group, the company behind Sports Direct, now controls 47.89% of Hugo Boss, almost half of one of Europe's most recognizable luxury fashion houses. The obvious read is that a discount retailer is trying to buy its way into looking expensive, but Hugo Boss's own board rejected this deal, calling the offer financially inadequate. Frasers ended up with the stake anyway. A rejected offer isn't supposed to end with the buyer holding almost half the company. That's the part that doesn't add up. If Mike Ashley just wanted a luxury logo to slap on the portfolio, a hostile stake in a company that already said no to him is a strange way to get it. Expensive, adversarial, and it comes with no real control. And Hugo Boss isn't the only one. In the past year, the same group has taken a majority stake in the Webster, picked up a chunk of Mulberry, a small position in Burberry, and bought Harvey Nichols outright. That's not one purchase, that's a pattern, which raises a different question than the one the thumbnail seems to promise. This isn't really about Sports Direct trying to become fancy. It's about why a company selling budget trainers is spending hundreds of millions to end up partway inside almost every luxury brand it touches, without fully owning any of them. Frasers didn't start with Hugo Boss. Before the takeover offer, before the 47.89%, there was a smaller, less visible problem. Frasers wanted to sell premium and luxury product through its own stores, and the luxury side of the industry mostly said no. That's the first explanation worth testing. Mike Ashley has a long history of buying distressed retailers cheap. House of Fraser, misguided, a loss-making stake in Debenhams. If Frasers is just doing what it's always done, the Hugo Boss stake is nothing new, just a bigger version of an old habit. But that explanation runs into a problem almost immediately. Bargain hunting explains buying a company that's already collapsing. It doesn't explain paying to sit inside companies that are still standing, still profitable, still saying no to you. Here's what luxury houses actually protect: who's allowed to sell their product and where. A brand like Hugo Boss controls its concessions carefully: which stores get shelf space, which get real estate inside a flagship, which get treated as wholesale partners worth trusting. That control is most of what luxury means as a business. Sell through the wrong doors, at the wrong prices, next to the wrong neighbors, and the brand's pricing power erodes with it. Frasers' core identity is Sports Direct: discount pricing, clearance racks, a brand built on volume, not exclusivity. To a luxury house's supply chain team, that association is close to a disqualifier. It's not that Frasers couldn't afford to stock premium brands, it's that premium brands didn't want to be stocked by them. That's the wall. And it explains something the opening already showed you: why a company that just spent close to 2 billion euros on a hostile stake still doesn't get a normal seat at the table. A shareholding doesn't grant a concession agreement. Hugo Boss's board can keep running the brand exactly as it always has, regardless of who owns the shares. So a stake, on its own, buys influence, but not access, and access is what Frasers actually needed. 5 days before the Hugo Boss numbers were finalized, Frasers closed a different kind of deal. Harvey Nichols, a 195-year-old British department store in Dixon Poon's family for 35 years, went into administration. It had lost roughly £105 million in the year leading up to the sale, on top of years of decline before that. Ashley told the Financial Times he thought the business was in a death spiral, and he still bought it for around £40 million. On the surface, that looks like the same old Ashley pattern: pick up something broken for pennies. But Harvey Nichols isn't just 6 stores and a website. It's a department store that already carries dozens of luxury and premium brands under existing concession agreements, relationships that took decades to build, the exact kind of relationship Frasers couldn't get by asking. Buy the department store and you don't inherit a discount reputation problem. You inherit the shelf space. The brand relationships transfer with the building. Frasers didn't need Chanel or Dior to say yes to a Sports Direct subsidiary. It needed to own a storefront they'd already said yes to years earlier. That's the shift worth sitting with. A stake in Hugo Boss buys a vote. A department store like Harvey Nichols buys a door that's already open. Two very different tools aimed at the same wall. Now test it the hard way, because if this is really a strategy, it should survive a failure, not just a success. In late 2023, Frasers bought Matches Fashion, an online luxury retailer, for a modest sum out of a struggling position. There was no infrastructure play here, no existing wholesale relationships worth inheriting, just a brand name and a customer list. 3 months later, it collapsed into administration. Independent designers who'd shipped stock and hadn't been paid were left exposed. It's widely cited as one of Ashley's worst calls. If Frasers were simply an opportunistic bargain hunter with no real thesis, Matches should look identical to Harvey Nichols. Same buyer, same distressed asset playbook, same luxury ambitions, but it isn't identical. Matches carried no physical concessions, no legacy retail relationships, no access luxury houses had already extended to someone else. It was a bargain with nothing underneath it. It failed the way bargains without infrastructure usually fail. Harvey Nichols, Hugo Boss, and the group's other partial stakes all share the thing Matches didn't have. They attach Frasers to existing luxury brand relationships already trusted, rather than asking those brands to trust Frasers directly. That's not the same bet twice. That's one bet that worked and one that didn't, and the difference tells you what the actual strategy is. Put it together and the mechanism looks like this. Frasers can't buy its way into luxury's normal wholesale relationships, so it's buying the addresses, the shareholder votes, and the existing concessions that make those relationships unnecessary to ask for. Ownership isn't the goal, it's the workaround. None of this shows up at checkout. Someone buying a discounted pair of trainers at Sports Direct has no reason to know that the same corporate parent now sits as Hugo Boss's largest shareholder or owns the building Harvey Nichols operates out of in Knightsbridge. But the retail landscape underneath both of those experiences is now the same company, extending its reach through capital instead of reputation. Go back to the thumbnail, to that first strange fact. A discount retailer holding almost half of a luxury fashion house that told it no. It never really was a story about Mike Ashley wanting a nicer logo. It's a story about what a company does when the normal door won't open. It starts buying the building around it, one relationship at a time, until the door stops mattering.